Box 3, Spool 5. Spool. Box 3, 3, 3, 4, 2, 9, 7. Ah! Little rascal. Spool 5. 5, 5. 5. Ah! Little rascal. Mother at rest at last. The black ball. Black ball? The darkness. Slight improvement in bowel condition. Memorable. What? Equinox. Memorable equinox. Memorable equinox? Farewell to love.
"39 today sounds as a bell, apart from my old weakness. And intellectually, I have now every reason to suspect that the crest of the wave, or thereabouts, celebrated the awful occasion, as in recent years, quietly at the wine house. Not a soul sat before the fire with closed eyes, separating the grain from the husks, jotted down a few notes on the back of an envelope. Good to be back in my den, in my old rags. Have just eaten, I regret to say, 3 bananas and only with difficulty refrained from a fourth. Fatal things for a man with my condition. Cut them out. The new light above my table is a great improvement. With all this darkness round me, I feel less alone. In a way. I love to get up and move about in it. Then back here to me. Krapp. The grain. Now, what, I wonder, do I mean by that? I suppose I mean those things worth having when all my dust has settled. I close my eyes and try and imagine them. Extraordinary silence this evening. I strain my ears and do not hear a sound. Old Miss McGlone always sings at this hour, but not tonight. Songs of her girlhood, she says. Hard to think of her as a girl. Wonderful woman, though. Connaught, I fancy. Shall I sing when I am her age, if I ever am? No. Did I sing as a boy? No. Did I ever sing? No. Just been listening to an old year, passages at random. I did not check in the book, but it must be at least 10 or 12 years ago. At that time, I was still living on and off with Bianca in Kedar Street. Well, out of that. Jesus, yes. Hopeless business. Not much about her, apart from a tribute to her eyes. Very warm. I suddenly saw them again. Incomparable. Ah, well. These old PMs are gruesome, but I often find them a help before. Embarking on a new retrospect. Hard to believe I was ever that young whelp. The voice, Jesus, and the aspirations. And the resolutions. To drink less in particular. Statistics. 1,700 hours out of the preceding 8,000 odd consumed on licensed premises alone. More than 20%, say 40% of his waking life. Plans for a less engrossing sexual life. Last illness of his father, flagging pursuit of happiness, unattainable laxation. Sneers of what he calls his youth, and thanks to God that it's over. False ring there. Shadows of the opus magnum, closing with yelp to Providence. What remains of all that misery? A girl in a shabby green coat on a railway station platform? No. When I look back on the
Now the day is over, night is drawing nigh, shadows of the
that is gone, with what I hope is perhaps a glint of the old eye to come. There is, of course, the house on the canal where mother lay a-dying in the late autumn, after her long verdurity, and the bench by the weir. After her long verdurity, and the bench by the weir.
state or condition of being or remaining a widow or widower. Being or remaining? Deep weeds of viduity, also of an animal, especially a bird, the vidua or weaver bird, black plumage of male. The vidua bird.
Lay a-dying in the late autumn, after her long verdurity, and the bench by the weir from where I could see her window. There I sat in the biting wind, wishing she were gone. Hardly a soul, just a few regulars, nursemaids, infants, old men, dogs. I got to know them quite well. Oh, by appearance, of course, I mean. One dark young beauty I recollect particularly, all white and starch, incomparable bosom, with a big black hooded perambulator, most funereal thing. Whenever I looked in her direction, she had her eyes on me, and yet, when I was bold enough to speak to her, not having been introduced, she threatened to call a policeman, as if I had designs on her virtue. The face she had, the eyes, like crystallite. Ah, well. I was there when the blind went down, one of those dirty brown roller affairs, throwing a ball for a little white dog as chance would have it. I happened to look up, and there it was, all over and done with, at last. I sat on for a few moments with the ball in my hand and the dog yelping and pawing at me. Moments, her moments, my moments, dog's moments. In the end, I held it out to him, and he took it in his mouth. Gently, gently. A small, old, black, hard, solid rubber ball. I shall feel it in my hand until my dying day. I might have kept it, but I gave it to the dog. Ah, well. Spiritually, a year of profound gloom and indigence until that memorable night in March at the end of the jetty in the howling wind, never to be forgotten, when suddenly I saw the whole thing. The vision at last. This, I fancy, is what I have chiefly to record this evening, against a day when my work will be done, and perhaps no place left in my memory, warm or cold, for the miracle for the fire that set it alight. What I suddenly saw then was this, that the belief I had been going on all my life. Great granite rocks, the foam flying up in the light of the lighthouse, and the wind gauge spinning like a propeller. Clear to me at last that the dark I have always struggled to keep under is in reality my most unshatterable association until my disillusion of storm and night with the light of the understanding and the fire. Unshatterable. Up a lake with the punt bathed off the bank, then pushed out into the stream and drifted. She lay stretched out on the floorboards with her hands under her head and her eyes closed. Sun blazing down, bit of a breeze, water nice and lively. I noticed a scratch on her thigh and asked how she came by it. Picking gooseberries, she said. I said again, I thought it was hopeless and no good going on, and she agreed, without opening her eyes. I asked her to look at me, and after a few moments, she did, but the eyes just slit because of the glare. I bent over her to get them in the shadow, and they opened. Let me in. We drifted in among the flags and stuck. The way they went down, sighing before the stem. I lay down across her with my face in her breasts and my hand on her.
Just been listening to that stupid bastard I took myself for 30 years ago. Hard to believe I was ever as bad as that. Thank God that's all over and done with anyway. The eyes she had. The eyes. Everything there, everything, everything on this old muckball. The light and dark and famine and feasting of the ages. Yes! Let that go. Jesus. Take his mind off his homework. Jesus. Oh well. Maybe he was right. Maybe he was right. Nothing to say. That's a squeak. What's a year now? The sour cod and the iron stool? Reveling in the word spool. 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 Happiest moment of the past 500,000. 17 copies sold, 11 of which at trade price to free circulating libraries beyond the seas, getting known. £1.6 and something 8, I have little doubt. Keep them under. Scalded the eyes out of me reading Jeffrey again. A page a day. Could have been happy with her. Up in the Baltics, on the pines and the dunes. Could I? Could she? Fanny came in a couple of times. Bony old ghost of a whore. Couldn't do much. But I suppose better than a kick in the crotch. She'd ask me, "How do you manage it?" she'd ask me. I'd tell her I'd been saving myself for her all my life. Went to Vespers once, back when I was in short trousers. Now the day's over. Night is drawing nigh. Shadows of the evening steal across the sky. Went to sleep and fell off the pew. Sometimes at night wondered if a last effort wouldn't have... finish your booze and go off to bed, old man. Go on with this drivel in the morning, or leave it at that. Leave it at that. Lie propped up in the dark and wonder. We again on a Christmas Eve, gathering a holly red-berried. We again Croggan on a Sunday morning, in the haze, would bitch stop and listen to the bells, and so on. Be again. All that old misery once wasn't enough for you. lie across her.
I said again, I thought it was hopeless and no good going on, and she agreed, without opening her eyes. I asked her to look at me, and after a few moments, she did, but the eyes just slit because of the glare. I bent over her to get them in the shadow, and they opened. Let me in. We drifted in among the flags and stuck, the way they went down, sighing before the stem. I lay down across her with my face in her breasts and my hand on her. We lay there without moving, but under us all moved, and moved us, gently, up and down, and from side to side, past midnight. Never knew such silence. The earth might be uninhabited. Here I end this reel. Box 3, spool 5. Perhaps my best years are gone, when there was a chance at happiness. But I wouldn't want them back, not with the fire in me now. No, I wouldn't want them back.